The Legend of Fairy Lake. I've been at this long enough that ghost stories don't get to me anymore. I've spent nights in supposedly haunted hotels, camped in the woods where people swear they've seen creatures, walked through abandoned hospitals in the dark. Every time, it comes down to the same things: wind, plumbing, fog, shadows. People scare themselves better than anything else can. So when someone emailed me about Fairy Lake in Quebec, I figured it was another overblown campfire story. They wrote, "She rises every Halloween at midnight. On a full moon, the chief's daughter sings on the water, and the ones who hear her don't come back." I should have rolled my eyes and moved on, but the email had an attachment. A scan of a diary, written in rough French in the 1800s. The last line said, "They kept the daughter of the chief. She swore the spirits would remember. Tonight, as the moon rose, I heard her voice upon the lake." I couldn't ignore that. I told myself I'd camp there, record the fog, and prove it was nothing more than atmosphere and imagination. When I got to Chelsea, the nearest town, I started asking questions. People didn't like that. At the bakery, the woman behind the counter froze when I mentioned the lake. Her hand trembled so badly the coffee sloshed over the cup. She muttered, "Don't go. If you see her reflection, you're already hers." Then she disappeared into the back and never came out again. At the gas station, an old man behind the counter gave me a dry chuckle when I asked. "Every tourist asks about that lake," he said. His voice dropped lower. "Hunters vanish, hikers too. Always this time of year. The lake keeps its promises." At the bar, a man with a scar down his cheek leaned close to me over his drink. "She sings," he whispered. "That's how you know. We went out there when I was 17, full moon, Halloween night. The water went flat, and then we heard her voice. My friend thought it was some trick. He stayed, I ran. I never saw him again." He didn't smile. He didn't laugh. He didn't blink. He just finished his beer and walked out, leaving his glass half full. The hike out to the lake was harder than I expected. At first it was normal, the crunch of leaves under my boots, the smell of pine, the occasional scurry of an animal in the underbrush. But the deeper I went, the quieter it got. The birds stopped, the squirrels vanished, even the insects went silent. By the time the sun dipped below the trees, the forest felt like it was holding its breath. I caught movement more than once. Tall shapes slipping between the trees. Thin. Wrong. When I turned, there was nothing there. By the time I broke through the tree line and saw the water, my nerves were already frayed. Fairy Lake looked like something from a painting. Perfectly round, rimmed with towering pines leaning toward it like watchmen. Moss crept to the water's edge, damp and glowing under the rising moon. Mist curled off the surface in silver ribbons. For a moment, I forgot why I was there. I set up camp on the north bank. Camera rig pointed at the lake, recorder running. I talked into it, trying to keep my voice steady. "All right, midnight at Fairy Lake. Let's see what happens." At 11 o'clock, the forest went silent. Not quiet, silent. The wind died all at once. The branches froze, the lake flattened until it looked like glass. My breath fogged even though the air wasn't that cold. Then came the smell, sweet and foul, like rotting leaves stirred into pond scum. It clung at the back of my throat. I tried to make a joke into the recorder, but my voice sounded too loud, wrong, like it didn't belong to the place I was standing. On the water, I started to notice reflections. Not mine. Dozens of them. Figures standing on the opposite shore, too far away to make out faces. When I shone my flashlight, there was nothing but trees. But when I looked back, the figures were closer. I stopped looking at the lake. Midnight came. The moon broke through the clouds and lit the water silver. The lake was so still it looked like another world under glass. That's when she appeared. At first, just a shimmer, a shadow. Then the reflection pulled itself out of the water, like peeling skin from a mirror. She rose slow, dripping, until she stood on the surface. She looked 16, maybe younger. Her hair hung wet and tangled with weeds. A dress clung to her thin body, stained dark. Her skin was pale, stretched too tight, and her eyes were black pits. Her mouth opened. She began to sing. The sound wasn't right. It didn't come from her lips. It came from everywhere. The water, the trees, the air in my lungs, warped, doubled, like two voices out of sync. By fire we called, by moon we prayed. The spirits fed us, the hunters stayed. The lake shuddered, bodies rolled beneath the surface, pale hands pressing upward, faces straining like they were trapped under ice. The strangers came with iron and flame. They took my body, they cursed my name. The moss rhythmed under my boots, my feet sunk. I couldn't pull free. It felt like fingers clutching my ankles. She raised her arm. Her hand was bent wrong, joints twisted backwards like snapped branches. She pointed at me. Now each full moon, one soul I take. The spirits hunger at dark fairy lake. The last word dropped so low it rattled in my chest. The water went still. The whispers stopped. And she was gone. I don't remember tearing down my gear. I remember the forest swallowing me, branches tearing at my face as I ran. I don't remember unlocking the car, just the silence breaking as the engine roared to life. The footage shows nothing. Just me on the shore, staring at still water. No girl, no song, no shadows. But my boots are still stained black from the moss. I've scrubbed them raw and the rot won't come out. 3 nights later, I woke to the sound of dripping. My ceiling was dry. My floor was dry. In the mirror across the room, she stood behind me. Her hair was dripping lake water. Her lips were moving, silently forming the words I'd already heard once. I turned the mirror to the wall. But every night since, I still hear the water. And Halloween's coming.